Hello everyone, this is Milan. Today we will learn how we can use the context API instead of Redux in our React project, or we can say mid-level React or big-level React project. So first of all, you will create a simple React app using create React app CLI. So let me show you how you can do that. So go to your command prompt or terminal and then write npx create React app space then the folder name or the project name or the app name. Okay, so if you enter it, then you will get all this file. Okay, so I have removed some unnecessary files. You can see in our public directory we have only one file, the index.html. I have removed our files and also removed some unnecessary code from here. And in the source file we have only in the source folder we have only 3 files. app.js, nothing but a functional component. Okay, nothing but a functional component. You can see it's printing the hello world. In the index.css there's some basic css. Index.js, same thing. Okay, so we have nothing. Let me show you by running our app. npm start. Okay, it's starting. So you can see the hello world application. We have nothing. Okay, so first of all, what we will do, we will set up the context API so that we can use it properly in our whole project and easily you can use it. So for that, let's start set up the context API. Okay, so first of all, let me show you the folder structure I'm going to use in this project. So you can see here, this is the source folder. Inside the source folder we will create a folder called component. Here will be all the layout, or all the component will be here. You can see the layout here, all the layouts will be there. These are routers, all the routers will be there. The pages, all the pages will go there. So in the utils, and another folder will be the utils folder. Utils folder we will have 2 folders called context and another is helpers. In the helpers we will just write our helper class or helper functions. Okay, and in the context folder we will write all our context things. So first we will create a file called main context or app context, whatever you can name it, .jsx, a main context component. After that we will create a reducer folders where we will store all our reducers, and our actions folder where we will store all our actions. And one more thing, this video is not for the beginner. Those who already know the context API also know how the reducer works and action works. This video will help you. Okay, but if you don't know anything about the context API, then first learn about the context API, then watch this video. This will help you. Actually, this video is main purpose of this video is those who don't want to learn the Redux, but they want to use the core React to build their project. So this video is for them, so that we don't need to use any third-party library or state management. Okay, in the use state hook, let me explain why. So first, constant, you can say data and set data state. In the use state hook, you can see we get the data as a state and the method to set the state or update the state. In the this thing is used in the component only. We can't access this outside the component. Okay, we can do the pass the this context or this method as a parameter, but this is only used in the component. Okay, but in the if we use the reducer, let me show you how we can use the reducer. Constant, you can say data and we can say data reducer. So that you can say use reducer, and sorry, this is not the data reducer, this is data dispatcher. Dispatch. So in the reducer is giving you the data, the actual state, also the dispatcher or dispatch function. So using the displace function, you can manipulate this state, okay, and also update the UI. So that's why we're going to use, and we can use this throughout the whole application. So that's why we are using this reducer, not this state, okay. So also, if you want to learn more about the reducer, so you can search on YouTube. You will get tons of videos. And this reducer will take, you can see, two parameters. So one is the reducer and another is the initial state. So we can we need to create a reducer and the initial state. For that, go to this reducer folder and create a reducer called data reducer. This reducer is nothing but a function. So you will create a what can I say? We will create a function constant data reducer. Let's make it a function, and this data reducer will accept two things, two parameters. One is state, another one is action. So this based on this action, the dispatcher will run and update the initial state, okay. So for now we will just return this state, and this state is nothing but the initial state, okay. So we'll create a, and also, okay, so we need to export it, export default data reducer, and also create the initial state that is required here, constant init data state. For now I'm just putting an empty array. You can put anything you want as a initial state. You can put the object, you can put the array. So I'm putting this as an array. Also export this because we need this in our main context file. So first we need the data reducer. So import it data reducer, okay, and then we need this init data state. Also import it, pass it over here. So now we have successfully created our reducer, and we need to pass this reducer, or we need to bind this reducer with our context, okay. So this you can see we have created two contexts because I want to maintain all the things separately. That's why you can see this is the state context. So I will bind all the state with this state context and all the dispatch with the dispatch context. State means this, you can say these things are the state. This data will be bind to the state context, and the dispatch, this data dispatch will bind in the dispatch context. So let me show you how. So for now we have only one reducer, but in future we have multiple reducers. So that's why we will create a object to combine all the reducers or all the state or all the dispatcher. So we can say constant global state. You can name whatever you want. So pass this data here. So if you in future if you have another reducer, let's say auth dispatch, here will be auth reducer or initial auth state. So then you can just simply pass this auth here, then it will be connected with this state provider, okay. So now I'm just showing it, and also create the constant global dispatch, pass this data dispatch here. So I'm creating two objects, pass this object as a below in this state context provider. So below equal global state and below equal global dispatch. So in future if we just add this way, then all this state will be automatically bind with this state context and dispatch context, okay. So that's it for this main context setup. After that you can see we have used this here, and also we need to set up this reducer, but before that let me create the actions. Okay, so we need actions to do the stuff or do the manipulation, do the state manipulation. Okay, so let's create the data action that says, and also we need we will have different types of actions. So we'll create a simple file called types.js. This will hold all the types or actions. Okay, so constant types equal, it will be simply an object, and we can write different types of things we're gonna do in our app. So let's say get data. These are the simple thing, nothing else. Okay, get data, then we can say add data. Also we can say update data. We can say delete data. So in this way you can define all the types of actions you want to do in your app. You can define here. Also we can say for the, let's say we have an auth action or auth reducer, we can say so you can write login. Okay, so in this way you can define all the types here, so we don't need the login here now. So, and before going to the data action, we need to let's do something here. Let's say we'll first work on this get data types. Okay, so what we'll do, okay, so okay, first do this data action. So data action is also nothing related to the React. So we'll simply create a class here, name this data action. Inside the class we'll create a constructor, and though this is not related to our React, so we cannot use the hook or dispatch these things here directly. That's why we'll pass the dispatch here as a parameter. So you can say this dot dispatch. So why we're taking this dispatch, because you can see this is the data dispatch here. So if you want to manipulate this state or this data, then we need this dispatch. That's why, and we will do all the manipulation in this data action class. So that's why we need this dispatch in this class. So that's why we're passing here. Then we will create the first action. You can say get data action. Then create the method of get data, create a function. Okay, and here what we will do, we will do our server class API call stuff. After that we will update the state or the UI. Okay, so these two things we will do here. Okay, also send a response to the component that it's done successfully. Okay, so this kind of things. So we'll do these three things here. So first of all, do the API call. So for now I'm not going to show you how we can do the actual API call. You can use the Xuse or Fetch API to do these things. I'm simply just mocking the API calls. So we can write set timeout, and inside there we can write a function. So after 3 seconds, so on this function, this code will run after 3 seconds. So we can just assume that if we call an API, that will take 3 seconds and then give you some response. Okay, so I'm just after that. Okay, so this get data will return a promise. Okay, so I think you know already how the promise works, because we need to access this data from our component. Okay, so that's why let's return the promise here. So return new promise. Okay, so promise has two parameter, resolve and reject function, and here we will write this set timeout method. So let's say this promise or this API call will take 3 seconds. After that, it's successfully written some data. So we'll create an object. Let's say response data object. So constant data equal, and let's say an array. Why we are giving an array here? Because we have set up the initial state at arrow. So though we are getting that data, so this array will replace that initial empty array. Okay, so in here we will just simply write, you can write object this way. I'm just simply write 1 2 3 4 5 this is 6. Let's say this data will come from our server after this 3 seconds. Okay, now we can resolve our promise by passing an object. You can say response equal true, or you can say success, whatever, and the data equal this data. Also you can pass a message if you want, g and get data successfully. Okay, so what will let me remind or review what I have done here. So this get data function will return a promise. So and after 3 seconds, the set timeout function will call this code will execute. This code will execute after 3 seconds. Okay. So what we'll do after 3 seconds, and this data will pass from this or return from this get data. So I'll show you more. And after that, so we have done these resolve things. So after that we will do this part, update the state or update the UI. Okay, so how we'll do that? We will use this dispatch. Okay, so let me show you how we can do that. So dispatch is a function. Okay, so we will pass, so this dot dispatch, and pass two things here. So one will be the type. So what type of actions we are doing here? We are getting the actions. So we'll get that from types dot, you can see get. So this type is coming from here. Okay, so we have imported it, not yet. Okay, so let me put it types. Import. Okay, we haven't exported. That's why it's not importing. Export default types. Okay, so now let's import it types. Auto import this way. This thing. Okay, so we input the types. Also we need to export this data action. Export default data action. Okay, so yeah, so we pass the type, also we need to pass the data. So this data, because this data will need to replace this initial data. Okay, so how we'll pass it? We'll write payload and then pass this data. So and we can access this type and payload from our reducer to update the UI. Okay, so let me show you how we can do that. So after that, go to this reducer and we will check if the action dot type equal types dot get data. So you can see what we will do. So we have passed this, the dispatch, we are passing this type and the payload. Okay, sorry, we are passing the types and the payload, and we are getting that type from this action variable, action parameter. Okay, so then we check the action dot type equal types dot get data. If this is true, then we will add this data what we have passed in payload with our initial state. Let me show you. So we will get the data. You can say constant data equal action dot payload. Okay, so we'll get the data, and after that we'll pass an array by combining this initial state also our new data. What you can do, you can write the state comma then data. So we are I'm using spread order to combine these two array, then make them a single array. Okay, so this will return an array. So that's it for this reducer for now. Okay, just put them inside this curly braces, and if this is not the case, inside the else box return the default state. Okay, so whatever state we have, that will return if this is not the case. Okay, so after that, and now it's time to use this. Actually, we can say that the setup is already done. We have created our type and the actions here successfully. We have created our reducers here, and we have created our main context file, and now we can use it. For using it, let me create a layout. We can say demo.jsx rfc, and here we'll create a button. Okay, so button button. So get data, we'll just say get data, and one will on click. Okay, let me just use it here. Instead of button, we will write demo. Make sure you imported it successfully and go to this demo. Now we on click get data. Make this method here constant get data. So when I click on this button, this method will execute. So what we will do, we will use our context now here. Okay, so for that, remember we have two contexts here. One is this. We have one is state is one is data state, and another one is data display state. The data state is placed in the state context, and this space data display is stored in the display context. So we need both of them here. So we can use the hook use context here. We can write context const object data use context. And here you can see we need to use this state context in this demo component. That's why we need to export them, both of them. Export state context. Pass the state context with state, which context you want to use. Sorry, state context export state context. Okay, so after that, use the dispatcher dispatch this thing. Dispatch context. Okay, dispatch. It's not giving you the auto solution, just copy this name and put it here and put it here. Okay, so yeah, now we have this access of this data and the data dispatch. So the data will store all the data we have passed from these actions, these things. So we can directly use it now here. I'm just using map to map through this data. Map item return return from JSX, pass the item dot to string. We are passing integer value from our action, so do this thing. So now we'll do this part later. Let me just. So we have an error. You can see in the reduction file expected an assignment or function call. Let me see in the 6th number line. So in the reduction 6, oh sorry, we are getting the display, but we haven't assigned the display here. Okay, let's see then. I have another error. Expected an assignment of pseudo for expression number 6. Dispatch should not from. Let me restart the server. Let's see. Yeah, no problem, right? Okay, so now we can check our state here from here using reactive tool. Go to components, click on demo. You can see we have an data array. That is our initial state. Okay, and we have two contexts. One is data dispatch, and another is this. Yeah, this is the one context which holds all the data. We have seen one array, and this is the dispatch context. Okay, so now I will see how we can get the data after clicking that button. So go to this demo.jsx. Okay, so first we'll call our actions, new data actions. Make sure you imported it successfully. Then we need to pass the dispatch. That is the dispatch because we want to get the data, so that is the dispatch. Then this will return, and what it will return? It will return a promise, right? So get data. Let me call this get data. This will return a promise, so we can write .then and .catch. If there is an error, then we can call this catch block. If successful, then we can write res. This response we can just console log the res. So console log this error. Okay, so hopefully this will work. Let's see now. Let me just click on here and wait 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you can see we got our data. And if you go to the components, go to demo, and in the context you can see we have all the data. So everything works perfectly. We got an error here. Let me show you. Okay, so is in the map we need a key props, so we can write it here. Make it div. Give key props item. Okay, so yeah, now the problem should gone. Yeah, the problem is gone. If you click on it, 3 seconds we get the data. Okay, so now let me repeat the whole thing, summarize the whole thing so that you get an overview. So first of all, what you need to do, so this is all about our setup. So first of all, we'll create the folders, then create a main context file. Here this is, then create two contexts, one is state context, another is dispatch context. After that we'll create two provider. From that two context, state context provider, dispatch context provider. So inside the provider we will pass the value as a the reducer data and the reducer dispatch. So data and the dispatch, the state and the dispatch will pass as a value. Okay. So I'm using these two objects so that we can use multiple data at the same time. We can combine them. After that, we'll go to app.js. Inside the app.js, we will use this main context and wrap the whole application with this main context. And inside that, we'll write all the child components. Okay. So after that, to create the reducers for using it here. So this to get a reducer. So go to the reducer, this one. So you can see we will import these types. We can talk about types later. So we need an initial state. So we name it initial state and export it. Make sure you export it. Then create the reducer. Reducer will take 2 parameter state and action. So the state will be our initial state, and the current state or the default state. You can say current state, and the action will hold the type and the payload. You can pass as many parameters as you want. Okay. So the type will check what type of action it is. So that's why we create a file called types, where we will define all the types, because we need these things in multiple places so that we can access it easily. That's why we create an object and export it. And we'll check after action.type equal type.get data. Then we will get the data using our payload, and then merge the data with our initial state or the current state. So then return this. Okay. And that is in our reducer. After that, go to the action. In the action, we need the dispatch for the action. So we create a class, pass the dispatch as in the constructor, and then create a method. This method will return a promise. So inside the promise, we will we did a fake API call. You can do a real API call. And if you want me to create a video on how to do this API call from here using Axios and Fetch API, comment below. I will do that obviously for you. And then we will return this data or resolve this promise here. After that, we need to do the dispatch. So we have this dispatch what we have passed here. Then we pass as the action type as the types.get data, and the payload is the data, the actual data we get from the server. Okay. Then we pass this data as this data will go to this reducer and will merge from here. Okay. So that is the set of things, and then go to this demo.jsx. Here we will use this context we have made. So first of all, we need to get this state. So we use the use context hook and pass this context we have created in our main context file. Here, these two. So that's why we need to export them. So using the use context, we get these two data and the data dispatch. And now we call this action and call the function, and this will return new and promise. So we use this promise here, and here though we have this access this data, so we can map through this data here. Okay. So this is the overall setup you can see. And let's say you want to add, so I know this is quite lengthy process, but let's say you want to add more reducer now, but then it will be more easier. You can see, let's say we want to add a new reducer here. Let's say app reducer JS. So what we can do, you can just copy the whole thing, paste it over here. Initial app state is here, and this will be the app reducer. For now, just return the state. So this app reducer will be here, and use this app reducer in our main context. So just duplicate it. This will be the app, and this will be the app dispatch. Here we need to pass this app reducer. Reducer, the initial app state. Initial app state, and pass the app here. The dispatch here. and done. You are set up your on reducer with your state. So easy. After that, you can create an action. You can say app action JS. So you can create a class action, create a constructor, same thing. Pass the dispatch. This dot dispatch, you call dispatch, and create a function. Let's say dark theme. So if what this will do, this will enable the dark theme. Let's just assuming that. Okay, so here what we'll do, we don't need to do any server stuff here. That's how we can simply return. We don't need to return the promise also, because this is not the asynchronous things. The dark theme can be implemented easily without any promise returning. So you can just simply call this dispatch. This will be method. So the method we can pass the type as types dot, make it in the first line, types dot dark mode, say dark theme. So define this in our types folder, types object. So dark theme, yeah, we don't need to pass any payload. We can say the payload here. Let's say we can pass the color of our dark theme. Payload, say red, and the dark theme color will be, or say black. And how we can use it? We'll just go to demo and we can just write new app. Okay, we haven't exported. So default app action, pass the dispatch. So we need to get the app dispatch from here, app, go to this main context and we need to get the app, also the app dispatch. Okay, then pass this app dispatch here. Sorry. After that we can call this dark theme. Okay, so simply this will, and you can write the logic of the dark theme in the reducer. Okay, so in the app reducer. Okay, so that's up to you. So I hope this will help you, and if you have any question you can comment below, and if you have any request then you can also comment below. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the video then please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much.